We are in August 2022. We finish a retreat. We are in a Spirit Vine Retreat Center in Brazil, in Bahia. We did the 9 days retreat because we always have 11 days or 9 days. This one was 9 days. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Ed from California. I have a retreat center in about an hour outside of San Francisco, and I've been here. I think this is my fifth time.
Fifth time.
My fifth time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a 3-year break because I wasn't able to get down here with everything going on in the world, and I'm really happy that I got down here again, and I'm not going to allow 3 years to go by again. It's been life-changing for me. I bought a piece of land 7 years ago, and I didn't really know what to do with it and what I was doing moving from the city to land and having to take care of it, and still numbing myself, drinking every night, and thinking there must be a better way to connect to the land. And the experience at Spirit Vine taught me how to develop that connection, which was really with myself, and not just nature, but with everything. And because of the time I've spent here over the years, it's changed my life, and made it to where I'm no longer sick of myself and can really enjoy myself without having to have distractions, and being able to connect genuinely to my surroundings, to my family and my friends, and to the participants here, the other participants, being able to listen. Yeah.
My name is Christina, and I am also from California, from Sacramento. And I work as a regional sales manager for the West Coast, remote job. And I first heard about ayahuasca years ago, watching a documentary, and it was intriguing to me, and I thought it was very interesting, but I didn't have a feeling it was for me necessarily. So it just kind of bookmarked in the back of my mind. Life goes on, and over the past year or two, I've just had a lot of things happen in my life, a lot of changes, a certain amount of trauma, and a couple months ago I just felt this calling towards this experience doing ayahuasca, and I can't really explain where it came from. It just kind of came out of my subconscious, I guess, and started doing a lot of research about different places to go do ayahuasca, different retreats, and eventually came across Spirit Vine and looked at the website, looked at a lot of the videos and the reviews, and I felt this is the right place to come to do this experience. So I came because I was looking for deeper self-discovery, learning more about myself, definitely some healing too of traumas, and I just felt open and I felt ready for this, and everything in me just told me this is the right time, this is the right place.
This is Sinem. I'm originally from Turkey, but I moved to Luxembourg 1 year ago, and I'm living in Europe right now. I'm a program manager at a big company there. I heard about ayahuasca before too, like I think 2-3 years ago I first heard about it, and I thought it was interesting but not for me as well. And around the same time I started to struggle with anxiety and depression, which led me to therapy and many years of therapy actually. And I felt like there were some things that I could feel more or discover more. Like I had some walls going through therapy, then this would help me a lot. And ever since I kind of started to think about it, it just didn't leave my mind. I was like, we are going to do this at one point, you can relax, but it just didn't leave. And it was like, no, we are going to do this. And I searched for actually only a day, about retreats, not extensively.
1 day retreat?
I searched for 1 day only, the retreat in the online.
Okay.
Before I decided the Spirit Wine was the right place to be.
Mm-hmm.
The first attraction was your background.
Mm-hmm.
I felt way more safe coming here because it was going to be my first experience with ayahuasca, but not just only ayahuasca, with anything psychedelic as well, and also my first travel outside of Europe. So it was going to be an experience out of comfort zone as well. So I wanted, I guess, some reassurance, and your background gave me that. But then I saw the reviews online, which were so profound, and it almost felt like unreal in a way. So that's why I decided in a day, and I applied later on that week. It took me a while to come back, but yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Now that you mentioned that you were doing a lot of psychotherapy because you had
Yeah.
depression, with that experience in psychotherapy and the experience you have here during the workshops, the ceremonies, do you think you have more tools now, or new tools, or new ways to discover what is happening, how to heal some bad habits?
Yeah.
What you can say about that?
So for me, it's not going to be the same for everybody. So I'm just going to talk about from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I had hard time feeling the things that I was discovering in therapy. So I would have these insights, which would take longer for sure. But I would have these insights actually about my patterns of behaviors. But then it would feel like a story. It wouldn't feel like something that I felt inside, that I understood. And whenever my therapist tried to go to my inner child, or like pushed me to talk to my child self, etc., I felt this huge resistance. Like I couldn't do that kind of exercises with him. So there was a place that I could not go in therapy as well.
When you were working in your inner child, you were in a little light trance, or
just talking, and it
Mm-hmm.
just felt weird to do that.
Yeah, because normally
Yeah.
you feel resistant.
Yeah.
It's too rational.
Yeah, too rational, yes. So it wasn't available for me, that path, and to feel the real emotions about how that child felt or anything else like that. And without actually feeling, I wasn't able to really integrate what I learned, because it almost felt like a story and the emotions never changed.
Yeah, but when we do in the first workshops, I always start with the relation to childhood.
Yeah.
So in this workshop, you go back and you become the child again.
Yeah. This was the first time.
So you are the child feeling,
Yeah.
not thinking.
Yeah.
Like an adult, oh, I must have this or that. You are the child again, and you are feeling all the traumas you had in that moment, why you were sad, why you were angry. So you really felt in that workshop, or it still was?
When we were doing the exercise, it was still a little bit rational.
Mhm.
I was able to tap more. But then at one point in the exercise, you told us, look directly in the eyes of the child, which makes me still emotional to mention. And I, for the first time, actually was able to see her.
The connection.
Yeah. So.
And then you became her.
Yeah, and then I was able to then be her in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of reuniting during the ceremonies as well after that workshop. For me, I understood that there was a need for reuniting with
Mhm.
my child, and ceremonies helped to uncover that part as well, on top of what we had in workshop.
What you are saying is so common that, a lot of people don't remember at all their childhood. So in that case, I think it's because it was very traumatic. But some people remember, but it's stories.
Yeah.
It's rational. Only when you can enter and contact this child, and you became the child again, you realize how much time this child was waiting. So pay attention to me. I am in pain. I need this. I need that. And you are busy. You are working, and you don't imagine how needy can be this child. And if you don't pay attention, the child will insist, no, and will escalate. And suddenly you are in a business meeting and you overreact like a child because your child is in pain. So better to do the work, to go there, feel, and start working in the healing. If you don't want to overreact again in improper places. That's why people can heal very old wounds, because they enter there. This is the pain is from here. That is the alcohol that was numbing that pain. But until you don't work, you don't contact this child, why you will stop drinking? If it is unbearable, the pain, or addicted to work, or pills or things, if it's so intense, the pain, I need to do something. And if you don't know what to do, you will drink, you will use drugs, a lot of symptoms.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting the way you live it. Finally, even though I did a lot of therapy, I enter.
Yeah.
That is the connection.
Yeah.
And now, this child is not alone anymore. Do you have something similar? What is your opinion about this?
I think for me, I was able to feel my feelings more. I had a rational understanding of certain traumas that I had or experiences that I had. But for the first time in the workshops and in taking the ayahuasca, I was able to actually feel more than think about it. And that was very important for me and very profound, because part of what I discovered about myself, which again I knew, but was really able to somehow embrace more in this experience, was you were like not able to feel your feelings, or it felt like it wasn't allowed. And so you kind of disconnected a little bit from that, and now you're reconnected to that. And it's so powerful to be reconnected to that sense in myself.
Sometimes, depending, certain families don't allow to let the children feel sad or angry.
Because it's bad.
It's bad.
Feelings are
You
bad.
have to be strong. So
Yeah.
when you are an adult, you don't have permission to feel.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need?
Yeah.
So you don't want to enter there, and then you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally enter there and you live what the child was really feeling, and you are able to express, first you feel, oh, this is not okay, this is not allowed, it's wrong, I cannot do that. But in this environment, because we are not judging each other, we are not criticizing if it's wrong or it's not okay. So first time in your life saying, I needed this, I was sad because of that,
Mm-hmm.
without feeling guilty, because sometimes you don't want to be ungrateful with your parents. How can you say that they didn't give you what you needed? If they suffer a lot or they do their best, so how can I say that? You can say it because the child was feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
not because your family was bad. It's because they couldn't give you more. So it's okay to allow the child, yes, it's okay, you are feeling this. It's normal, you are sad, I will protect you. What else you need? So it's a big relief.
The validating of the feelings, I think for me that was huge too, because even when I would feel, I would question, is it valid? Is it okay to feel this way? And it's the knowing, yeah, it's okay, it's normal.
And you create a pattern of behavior. If you cannot say it in your childhood, then you grow and you are an adult and you feel, no, I don't have the right to feel this or to complain about that, or you cannot set boundaries. So it's complicated with relationships if you don't have good boundaries, because you became a people pleaser,
Mm-hmm.
or you became passive aggressive because you are angry, because you cannot say no, and then unconsciously you will do something to harm the other. So it's simple if we go from the beginning to feel feel what you feel, even if it is uncomfortable. And then what I have to do, I can ask,
Mhm.
I need this, I don't want that, and set boundaries.
Yes. And I think the holding of the space here to share and to talk and to not feel that judgment was very key, because I actually came into it with a lot of anxiety around the sharing, because I knew we would have to share, and I thought, oh, how's this going to work? And everyone just kind of opened up very naturally, and it made the energy feel okay to also open up. Like it released the blockage around being able to talk about these things, and that was huge for me, because that was a big anxiety I think I was carrying around. Like I can't talk about these things.
Here we can talk about everything,
Yeah.
and it's okay to be yourself. This is the best thing.
Yeah.
Nobody have to pretend. And you, Ed, you did this workshop before.
I have.
Did you notice any difference? You continue discovering new things, new traumas in your childhood?
Yeah, I think in other retreats, I knew my father had been very scared when I was born and rejected me, and I took that as that he didn't love me. And I had known that before, but in this time, and I think kind of like you spoke, I worked with therapists on the inner child, but this time, through actually the experience with you, I was able to see the experience you went through, which I think is what's so great about the groups, is then I learned how to go back and adopt my inner child and take care of it. And it was very, very powerful. I actually became the father, and you know, with everything I know now at 50 years old, I was able to take care of that child, and it was extremely powerful. We'll see what benefit it now has in my life, but I know that I already feel lighter through going through that experience of taking care of the child and having a conversation with my father about the pain and that I had for all of these years and that rejection. And I believe that was very healing to confront it. And I'd always just like forgiven him and not even fully forgiven him, just ignored it, and really confronting it and dealing with it head on has been very healing for me.
You mentioned before that before the first retreat, you were numbing yourself with alcohol.
Yeah.
Do you think it was related to these wounds from your childhood?
Yeah, I think it was related to all of them. And while I cut the alcohol 5 years ago, there's been many other things that I'm still numbing myself with by not dealing with this trauma. You know, I can look at, get home at the end of the day and I'm uncomfortable and I'm like, oh, I'll look at my computer and watch YouTube videos. Like that's because I feel uncomfortable, and so I'm numbing myself. And so now I hope that I can go, now that I will go home and make better choices in how I spend my time, rather than numbing myself, actually engaging in my life.
So numbing is a way to prolong the agony, because you are not facing, you are not confronting, you are not doing what you have to do. And sometimes it's fearful to do this, confront somebody. And also in the exercise, when you confront your mother or your father, it's difficult. Some people say, no, I cannot do this. Some people say, no, I how can I do this? They are not bad people.
Well, and seeing others in the group doing it, it helps you realize you can do it.
Of course.
If you're in a room alone with a therapist, you know, you don't know that
The
you're
problem
capable
is
of
the
it.
guilt. People say, but they were not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand that we are here to understand the child and the wounds of the child. We are not here to overprotect your parents, because of course we know that they have their own problems, their own limitations, which is completely normal. Everybody has that. So we are here to understand what this child needed. So it's not the right moment to protect the parents or to judge them, not at all. It's the child. What do you need? What is there? Okay, can I talk? It's okay to talk. And then you see people talking. Well, if they talk, I can talk. I can say it. And you say it and nobody is this is very bad. No. What is this? It's so free, so you relieve the pain, the energy you were using to keep all this, like, and then you have a lot of symptoms. If you cannot connect with your own essence, you do a lot of things because you have to do a lot of things, like what this child wants. When you make peace with your child, when you accept this child unconditionally, you bring this child to you, and this child, this part of your personality, that your inner child, is the most powerful part, because children are curious, are creative.
Playful.
So you are bringing back the joy to your life. And this child will go back to you if you can give him a good life. If not, will be separated because he will be afraid. But now, can you give your child a good life? If this child goes with you, you will be more complete, more full, more happy, more interested in life and do things because I enjoy doing it. It's not I have to do it, I have to work. No, it's joy and more complete. This is the idea. You are more resourceful with the child, and you don't have somebody, no, pay attention to me, torturing you, no. So stop the agony. Then we did another workshop that is spirit releasement. That is more weird, no?
Mm-hmm.
For some people, because we talk about parts of personality that other people, for example, our mother, our father, or the children in the school, if when you were a child, if children were bullying you, the trauma makes that the main soul of your body fragments, and you lost some fragments in that trauma, and in that space enter other fragments, for example, of the children that are bullying you. So you are carrying these children bullying you inside of yourself, and you grow and you are an adult, but you have this thing. I don't know what they were saying to you, but they are continuous bullying you. And you are continually reacting to that. But there are techniques to free yourself of everything we don't need anymore and everything that don't belongs to us. I teach the technique and you do the exercise, and you decide what you don't want anymore, what don't belongs to me. What did you discover in this workshop?
I'll say for me, I discovered an anxiety in my stomach that it was interesting how the shape, as you say, give it a shape and a color and who it came from. And to me, it was not something I would have thought of without that exercise, I don't think. And I just realized, and I always looked at myself like, you're not an anxious person really, but it made me realize like, no, you have this thing in you. And I also think there's many layers to it. It wasn't just one person, which was an interesting thing you discussed, is that certain things could have multiple layers too. And so it really helped me to visualize it in the way we did in the exercise, with a shape and a color, and then like sending it to the vacuum.
So you have a dialogue
Yeah.
with the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because of that. Who will talk with anxiety? But you can talk, and the anxiety will give you a lot of information if you are in the right set of mind. You need to be flexible to allow the information come.
Mm-hmm.
And the information comes, and you will have a lot of surprises.
It really was. And I think prior to coming here, prior to the exercise, I would be very critical of that exercise and like, this is silly, I can't have a shape and a color. The logical mind would be taking over, and the way that you approach with sort of going into a little bit of an altered state that you put us in is so helpful. And just, I think overall coming into this with the intention of like surrendering and letting go to the process is very, very important. And so for me, I was setting that intention before coming here, and I was just really happy that I was able to live that intention out in like being open, surrender your judgment, surrender your critical mind, and like you said, be playful is the way you were kept putting it, and I was
So you-
reminding.
Normally you will criticize, no, this is crazy, this will not work, but you choose, okay, I will be playful.
Yeah.
I will allow the information come. So what did you discover? That you were more anxious than you thought.
Mhm.
What else did you discover?
I discovered a piece of the physical pain I had was coming from someone else that was kind of angry at me and had put something in me, and it was able to start letting that go, and it physically feels better. So that was pretty amazing. I also discovered something on my heart that I felt was actually a helpful thing, because it came from a parent, and it said I put it there for guidance. And so I had to explore that more, and in talking a little bit with Tio about it, he's like, you should still let that go, because part of me didn't want to let it go, because I thought, oh, it's a positive thing, it's guidance, it's helping you, and it's like, no, you're an adult now. That was the guidance from you're a child, and it was their perspective, so it's good to let it go. And so that was kind of a big deal for me, because it helped me perceive it like, okay, yeah, that's true. Like I can let that
Now
go.
I can use my resources, it's my decision,
Yes.
my lesson,
Mhm.
because the lessons are for you.
Yeah.
And for example, about the anxiety, what else did you discover? Did you see when was the first time that entered the anxiety? What was the trauma,
Mhm.
that moment that the anxiety started entering in your system?
I did, and it came even more to me later after the workshop, in fact. But that's kind of good, because it told me, like, this work doesn't just happen in the workshop.
Oh,
it's,
no.
it's more.
We are planting the seed.
And so I realized, like, part of this anxiety came when I was in junior high, and I used to love presenting in front of the class. And I went to present in front of the class, and somebody like laughed at me or made fun of me, said something that really entered me, and it hurt me, and it made me feel self-conscious, and it made me feel judged. And I went from being this person that wanted to be the first one come to the class and present, to like being so terrified and afraid to use my voice, afraid to speak. I realized it was just that one instance brought you so much anxiety that followed you all the way into adulthood. So that was a big realization, of part of where that came from.
And imagine when you realize, but I can remove this.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep carrying
Mm-hmm.
this enemy inside of myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I feel a big part of it has gone, and there's still some work to do and practice to do around it, but just even wanting to come do the interview, that anxiety would be so strong, and I felt it a little bit, but so much better, and I can look at it and say, like, oh, I know where you come from. And
You know that a lot of people come at the beginning and they say, I cannot talk in public.
Yeah.
Or they talk to me and they said, can I talk always with you? I don't want to talk in front of the group. And I said, wait a little. At the end they remove so quickly this
Mhm.
fear. And normally they do the testimonial video at the end, because they are so happy that they want to share, they want to expose themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable how quickly you can do this.
Yeah, I was surprised how easily it left, and I think it went hand in hand with the wound around not feeling heard or my feelings don't matter. It was like when I started healing that one, the anxiety was also healing, because they sort of go hand in hand a little bit.
I was going to mention that when I first heard about the workshop, I was really skeptical, and I actually raised some of my questions and concerns to you as well during the workshop. But it proved to be the best tool that I learned in this workshop, that I'm sure that I'm going to use later on. And I used maybe dozens of times in the ceremonies, during the ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
And I maybe even used that workshop and sent things away more than I purged. So it was an amazing tool that guided me through all of the ceremonies. And in the workshop, actually, I did not discover crazy things, because for me it was still a little bit hard to let go of the rational mind, but the plant seed was in me. So during the ceremony, I started to discover many things during second and third ceremony. Using that tool, I was able to then understand where it was coming from, when did it first enter, and whether it is from me or is it from outside, and if it's outside, I'm just gonna remove, or is it something from me but I don't want to have it anymore, so I remove. So I removed many things, and I felt so much lighter at the end.
You know that we will explain for the people who never did the workshop that we use like a big cosmic vacuum with tubes connected to each of us that will extract whatever we decide we don't want anymore.
Yeah.
Only what we decide. But this cosmic vacuum is representing our will, our power. Okay? So for the people who had problems to believe these kind of things, or they are very skeptical or very rational, it's symbolic, this cosmic, that my decision, I decided I don't want this anymore. So you are using this to remove, but this is your will. I don't want this anymore. I am ready to do it myself. So you start removing things that before you never thought is possible. And of course, you will feel the change immediately. Oh, I feel lighter, I feel more free, I feel stronger. And as I explained, all the workshops I am teaching you here, you have layers. You will discover something today, you go back home, you keep doing it, and each time you discover something else. Layers and layers. So the process is slow, and you need to work. It's not magical. A lot of people say, oh, I drink ayahuasca and change my life. You have to work a lot, you have to collaborate, you have to do introspection, keep working in yourself. It's not somebody else, the ayahuasca or a therapist or a shaman, they will save me. They will do the job for me. It doesn't exist that. You will do it using your power and your resources. Because in your everyday life is what you need. That's why I don't want people to depend on me. A lot of people come here thinking that I will heal them. And I said, no, I will teach you the technique, how you will do it, if you want to do it.
Here I want to mention one thing very important, and it changed the whole ceremonies and whole week for me, is that I came here believing that I was sort of a little bit of victim to my anxiety. It felt like it was almost in my body, and it's just I didn't have any control over it. And during the sharing or after first ceremony, you actually, in your feedbacks, kind of made that point about your power, your own decision, your own source. And then I had to really reflect on it, what that meant for me. And I was able to then tap into that power in the other ceremonies to actually be there for myself and have a bit of say in what's going on in my body, which was so powerful. And I think it's changed the whole experience for me. And now I feel more powerful in my own skin and what I can do in life. And I think that's gonna stay with me until the end.
Yeah. You are powerful, but the education we have is not empowerment. It's about the opposite. You cannot do this, or put in fears. Oh, if you do that, it's very dangerous. No. So this is the opposite. You have power. You can decide. You are an adult. You are responsible. Take responsibility. So anxiety is a big burden that you are carrying all your life, and you didn't know that you can do something with that.
Yeah.
Kind of along those similar line of, not feeling the victim to circumstances. It's like when I would look at certain traumas that happened to me as an adult and be like, oh, kind of feel a victim to it, like, really sad, this happened to me, this damaged me, all these things. And then it's like the realization, look at it from a different lens. What was it meant to teach you? And once I was able to look at it through that lens, I discovered a lot. And I just felt very freeing in discovering that, and okay, it makes sense now. And I felt better about it. I felt like, okay, I'm not such a victim to these bad things that happened to me, that they were helping me along the way to teaching me some things
You were a victim when you were a child because you didn't have the resources you have now.
Mhm.
So you cannot say, okay, I go, I don't like this, and you move. No, you have to be there. But now you can. So why we cannot use the resources we have now to help my inner child and to learn the lessons?
Mhm.
Why I have to pass this situation? What is the meaning? What is giving me?
Yeah.
If I am in victim, nothing will change. For me, feeling sorry for yourself. But if you say, I am responsible, I have power, I have resources, what I can do with this? No? And you work on that. And then you will be more powerful.
The reason I came here a month ago was because I was struggling with a lot of health issues, and through this exercise, I was able to go back to when I let my mom know that I was gay, and she was very traumatized over it. I think it can be a difficult thing for a mom to hear, and she went to a therapist and came back convinced that I was trying to harm myself, that I was trying to get, I think the word she used, a dreadful disease. And of course it was a very traumatic moment for me. I think I was about 18, not that young, but still very traumatic. And I realized at that moment I made this decision that I would get a dreadful disease. And so I'm going through life like constantly waiting for this dreadful thing to happen to me, really manifesting.
See the power
Yeah.
of a belief. Somebody tell you something, and if you allow, this something became super powerful. And how is this possible? Imagine you discover the moment this idea entered in your system. And you were feeding this with your fear or with guilt. You were feeding, and this was taking over.
Yeah.
Now you remove the power.
And now I feel completely fine leaving the retreat just by confronting that. I think it was a fragment in me that I needed to heal. And it's very powerful.